Phantom Thread.
Must be quite a challenge to be with him.
Yes. Maybe he is the most demanding man.
Paul Thomas Anderson is one of those rare, pure auteurs, where all of his writing credits are for movies he directed, and he's the sole credited screenwriter on all of his movies. All of his movies are just written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. And this is fairly uncommon, maybe more so than you might think. He writes with his brother and with Goyer. He's written movies directed by these guys. He always has a writing partner, usually a really good one. He had co-writers, he has co-writers. He technically had a co-writer once, but you know what, Hank? Close enough. But also, come on, guy. I'm not saying that makes their movies any better than their movies or anything like that. It's just kind of cool in an incidental way that each of PTA's movies are his movies. Each made by hundreds of collaborators, to be sure, but still his story told his way. And how appropriate that a filmmaker so consistently guided by his own singular vision would make a movie like Phantom Thread, about a dress designer who is so particular and exact about everything, and the woman who fights for her place in his meticulously regimented world. Phantom Thread is, among many other things, about the struggles of being in an intimate relationship with an artist.
I didn't ask for tea.
No, but
Can you take it out, please?
yes, I can take it out.
It's a bit late now, isn't it?
I'm taking it out.
Yeah, but it's a bit late now, isn't it?
But I'm taking it out.
The tea is going out. The interruption is staying right here with me.
And while all movies are personal, that particular subject matter makes it feel a little more personal. Man, this movie, dude. I honestly wasn't sure what to make of it after my first viewing. And yes, I've seen it twice.
In glorious 70mm.
But man, this movie wormed its way into my brain. And apparently it wormed its way into the brains of Academy voters as well. Because it was not expected to compete in the Best Picture category, or the Best Supporting Actress category, or the Best Director category, for God's sake. But yay! Frames within frames, sweeping camera movements following feet up a narrow staircase, tight close-ups during conversations and dressmaking.
Tight, yeah!
Cinematographer Roger Elswit shot all of Anderson's movies except for The Master and Phantom Thread, and he won the Best Cinematography Oscar for There Will Be Blood. The Master was shot by Milhai This Name Jr., and Phantom Thread, in all its glory, was shot by Anderson himself. But he's not the cinematographer. There is no credited cinematographer on Phantom Thread, which is honestly a goddamn shame, because they probably would have won an... Oh, never mind. Anderson says he shot some of it personally, but it really was a team effort between himself and the various scripts and camera operators he's worked with over the years. So he just decided to not have a credited cinematographer, because apparently that's something you can just decide to do. The lighting, frames. And as you can imagine, the costumes. Thank you, Mark Bridges, please take this. This is not a movie about a struggling dressmaker. Reynolds Woodcock is the Daniel Day-Lewis of dressmaking. And I really had to resist the urge to make this review all about him because, as I've said many times before, he's the greatest actor alive. At least the greatest actor that we know of. There may be a better actor in, like, Comoros or something, but as of yet, he or she has not ever been in a movie, so... And it's kind of weird that as of this writing/recording, it doesn't look like he has a prayer's chance of winning the Oscar. I would have thought that his supposed last movie would have meant he'd be given a closer look for Best Actor, because honestly, he deserves a closer look here. But I guess the Academy would rather give Gary Oldman his first Oscar rather than give Daniel Day-Lewis his fourth. But fourth Oscar or not, he's still Daniel Day-Lewis. Jeez, the things this guy can do with just his eyes, the things he can do with just a look. And the movie's quality really hinges on his performance, just by the nature of the story and the nature of how it's shot.
Tight, yeah!
So it's a good thing he's Daniel Day-Lewis. But the movie also hinges on the performance of Vicky Krieps, who incredibly goes toe-to-toe with the greatest actor alive. Or the greatest known actor alive. In the most basic sense, Phantom Thread is about Alma, played by Vicky Krieps, whose name is a sentence, fighting for her place in Reynolds' life. The film begins by establishing that Reynolds Woodcock will regularly take on muses/lovers, and then he'll tire with them, And then his ball-busting sister Cyril, played by Leslie Manville, will ask them to leave once they begin disrupting Reynolds' ever-so-important breakfasts. How does the movie establish that this happens regularly? By showing it happen once. But when Cyril says, "Would you like me to ask Joanna to leave now?" she does it in such a way that implies she's asked that question before. See what I mean when I say the movie hinges a lot on the performances? Speaking of which, Leslie Manville is so good as Cyril. Not only Reynolds' sister, but also his business partner, his only confidant, and the defender of his precious routine. His routine which helps him design dresses for royalty and makes him famous and wealthy. So Reynolds has a meet cute with Alma, his breakfast waitress, on his vacation, and he gives the greatest breakfast order in movie history. And breakfast is important in this movie, in several layered ways that I can't really talk about. And Alma catches on quickly that most women in her position of muse/lover haven't lasted long, but she refuses to be intimidated. Not by his fame, nor his genius, nor his pig-headedness, nor his confirmed bachelor status.
Why are you not married?
I make dresses.
You cannot be married when you make dresses.
I'm certain I was never meant to marry. I'm a confirmed bachelor.
That interaction is basically the whole movie. His immediate explanation for not being married
I make dresses.
is, I guess, a sensible explanation in his mind, but not in Alma's.
You cannot be married when you make dresses.
Those 3 lines essentially sum up the plot. The plot summed up in another singular moment about halfway through, where a princess is being measured for a wedding dress that House Woodcock will make for her. And Alma makes her way over to the princess, introduces herself, and then blurts out, "I live here." She may be one of many seamstresses making Woodcock's exquisite dresses. She may be one of many models wearing those exquisite dresses. But she lives there, as Reynolds' lover and equal, a proper resident of House Woodcock. But there's obvious desperation in her voice. Also kind of the movie in a nutshell. And if that, as a summation, doesn't sound very exciting, that's fair. I think it's important to know up front that the movie isn't very plotty. It's not plotless, but it's not plotty. The joy of their journey is less in the plot turns, though there are a few of those, and more so in the razor-sharp dialogue, in the performances, and in the lengths they go to keep each other. And speaking of Oscar nominations this movie got, Johnny Greenwood's score. His score for There Will Be Blood remains, I think, some of the best movie music of the century so far, and he wasn't nominated for that because of some technicality in the Best Original Score rules. So, if you can believe it, this is his first Oscar nomination. And even though the house money is on Alexandre Desplat for his Shape of Water score, I desperately want Johnny Greenwood to win. And not just because I'm a huge Radiohead fan, as is presumably Paul Thomas Anderson. Greenwood's score here is not only worthy of the Oscar, it's worthy of your vinyl collection and also of Carnegie Hall. Phantom Thread is just the complete package. It's a hell of a movie. Every piece of it. I mean, I've already covered cinematography, characters, performances, costumes, score, the sound editing. The sound editing's great. The little things, the scratch of pencil on paper, the slice of scissors through fabric, or the crunch of spreading butter on toast, the splash of pouring water in a cup. They make the already immersive world feel tactile. It's one of the great filmmakers of our time knocking it out of the park yet again. It's the greatest actor alive giving a worthy final bow. It's a lesser known actress showing she deserves to not only be known, but be a star. It's a gorgeous, mature, textured, richly rewarding movie, and I honestly can't wait to overanalyze every frame of it.